God, you said something. I forgot to record the first 20 seconds with him. That's all right. That's why I kind of redid the... So we talked to Brandon Girtz.
Great to get our first professional warrior on the show and bring that perspective on.
Professional warrior. Interesting way of putting it. Longtime Bellator fighter for like a decade. And then now he currently does bare knuckle. And from the conversation, Tom, it sounds like he's got some more bare knuckle fights left in him. What do you think?
Guy's a warrior, yeah, and I'm sure he'll be fighting for a long time to come. I like that I was able to get a ghost story out of him.
Yeah, you did. You got a ghost story out of him.
A pretty creepy one at that.
Yeah, real creepy one. Super cool guy, family guy. He's holding one of his boys in the arm for part of the interview, so if you hear a baby crying, that is that. And I had some other audio issues during the podcast, and I take full responsibility since I produce it, but it should sound just fine. Everything should sound just fine. So hope you guys enjoy our conversation we have with our first warrior on the podcast, Brandon Girtz.
Right now, bare knuckle boxing is the thing, man. It's kind of got my interest right now.
You fought Bellator. You're fighting bare knuckle now. The payday's way better in bare knuckle, yeah?
Yeah, they're paying well, bro. They're paying well, and then, just for, the training, that's not saying the training's any easier, the fights are any easier. They all have their different, aspects of toughness. But just now and, my career and everything, this has just been kind of seems like the right path.
How did that come up? Like, did you or your agent reach out, or did they approach you?
So it was funny. I was kind of on a little bit of a break. I've had a kid and stuff like that, and kind of, just been focusing on that. And they messaged me about the first Denver card that were coming here, and they were just messaging me to see if I wanted to come. They're like, oh, we got tickets if you want to come, basically. And I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. It's like, maybe I'd fight for you guys once, and then that's where it took off. They're like, really? Like, yeah, because it's it kind of seems exciting. To me, it's kind of it's an exciting sport.
Yeah, no, it definitely is, and I think it almost feels like, remember how like the UFC felt like early on, almost like Fringe, like there was like a small group of people that we really loved it and we knew about it, and it's kind of what bare knuckle feels like, like 30 years ago with the UFC.
What's funny is I feel like I've used that analogy recently, where I kind of just said that. That's what it feels like. It's fresh, it's new, it's brutal,
Yeah.
And that's kind of like you said, how the UFC was at first. And it's like it's still catching steam and stuff, but it's so fresh and people are, still trying to figure it out. It's like no gyms are like, nobody's like a bare knuckle gym. Nobody's training for bare knuckle. They are now. People are starting to, but there's no gym. Like even my gym, still we go and sparring is MMA sparring, or boxing sparring. It's not nothing's towards bare knuckle. It is starting to now, but that's because of how fresh it is, and it's just it's cool to be a part of something new like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially early on like that. You mentioned that you are a father again recently. How's that, man? How's that been?
Yeah, man. If you're a father, it's tiring at first, but it is very tiring. I got 2 boys now, which is a dream. For me, as if you know me and everything, like that's like family is everything to me, and to have 2 boys, I got a lot of slack in the beginning, given. I was like, it's going to be we didn't do the gender, like we waited until birth and stuff. And I was pretty much just saying it's going to be a boy. And then, of course, you get all the people that want to give you crap and like, well, how about if it's a girl? I bet you're having a girl. And I was like, nah, God wouldn't give me girls. Yeah. If you know the type of guy I am and whatnot, the having boys is like my destiny, and now I got 2. First one was like, yep, I knew I was going to have a boy. Second one, I was like, I'm not sure. Maybe they'll give me a girl this time. But another boy, and I'm super excited. Like I said, right now it's tiring. Man, our boy just, I want to say 6. He's almost 2 months old, so any new parent and stuff knows those first few months are sleepless. Even though my girl does most of the work, I'm not equipped with what these guys need right away. So, But but like I said, I'm there for the helping hand, and it's a lot, but it's there's nothing more that's giving me more purpose in this world.
I hear you, brother. And you got Vici too, right?
Oh yeah, I got him. I got him, of course, man. He's sitting right next to me like I always. That's my guy.
For people listening that may not know who we're talking about, who is Vici?
Vici's my pup, man. He's been the rider for a long time. Anybody that's followed me in Bellator, he's basically, the Bellator mascot. I mean, they all called him that, and the guys have walked me out to the cage a few times, traveled to all the fights. He was everywhere. The dude's 12 now, so he's, it's like it's all getting a little, he's become a gentleman now,
So, Brandon, I definitely, like I said, I'm stoked to have you on here because I have a martial arts background, wrestled my whole life, fought in MMA, still coaching and competing. And Mike's obviously a MMA journalist, so you're the first warrior that we've had on the podcast. And when we're talking the bare knuckle stuff, it's funny how it is new and it's fresh to us, but like when you look back, how boxing used to always be contested bare knuckle. So it's also sick that you're really participating in a super old tradition and like connecting to the, old time tough man style of boxing. And you come from a wrestling background too, don't you?
Yeah. Yep. I, started in high school, wrestling college, and, I consider myself, a wrestler, like anybody that's been a wrestler, that's the grind, that's what, I contribute a lot of my turning into a man, you obviously coming as a wrestling background, that's once a wrestler, always a wrestler, that's, and I tell people like, that's the toughest thing I've ever done, fighting stuff, getting punched, whatever. But wrestling is the true, is the grit. So, yeah, man, it's cool to be now in the bare knuckle boxing. Like you said, that's just as raw as it gets too, and it goes all the way back to the beginning of the time, and there's nobody in this world that's, doesn't know what, a fist fight is, bare knuckle, that's like what true fight is. So it's just kind of cool to be a part of it, really.
Definitely. And with bare knuckle too, it's like as it's thrown back, like they allow a lot more clinching and wrestling to be used and stuff. So I'm sure you incorporate that into your style and your training and whatnot. And like you said, you feel like wrestling is the toughest thing that you've done, even after doing bare knuckle and taking punches to the face and whatnot. And earlier you said that you felt like the training, you said not necessarily easy or anything, but has it been kind of nice after a lifetime of wrestling to just focus on throwing hands and throw away all the grindy groundwork and whatnot as you just transition to bare knuckle?
And that's it right there. Wrestling is by far the hardest thing to train. Anybody will tell you that, anybody that's an MMA fighter, it's like we'll be at the gym and all week striking, sparring days, class is full, wrestling day comes and you got, 50% to 60% of the guys, because that's where the true men are made, honestly. And bare knuckle boxing is brutal in there, it's a lot, there's a lot of, hand injuries and obviously lacerations and shit come from it. So in the actual fight, I feel like it's a little tougher, but the training for it, because I don't have to wrestle all the time. I'm not getting my limbs pulled on. I'm not pushing and pulling quite as much. The training's a little easier on the body, and you're just able to, after freaking, I don't even know how many years I've been training MMA, quite, decade and a half or so, and doing all martial arts. It's a tough thing to do. You go in, you do some groundwork, you come back, you do some mitts, you come back, you do some other, jujitsu or whatever, and it's like it's tough. When you're able to just to focus on one aspect of the game, boxing, it's kind of crazy. I'm not saying it's easy by any means. It's still got it, but it ain't compared when you're training every martial art,
Right. And it's probably keeping things fresh for you as well. Just a different expression of combat. I'm not going to lie. I haven't done MMA in a long time, over a decade myself, because I was dealing with some eye injuries that kept me away from striking for a while. But I'm not gonna lie, there's a part of me that really wants at least one bare knuckle fight to experience it too. Just the rawness and the toughness of it. It's pretty badass.
Well, it's so new, you know. I mean, it is and it isn't. Like I said, you know, anybody that's ever been a street fight, that's what a street fight is in a way, you know. But this is, you know, it's new and exciting, and you get you know, it isn't just the same as boxing. It isn't just the same as MMA, or even if you just was a striker, it's not. It has a different strategy even to it, you know. And when you see, you know, now it's getting bigger, and you see the more high level, and you watch the better the fighters, you know, the higher the level of the fighters that have done it. It's strategic, you know. It ain't just a brawl out there. Like you're learning the differences now and how to strategize, and it's kind of a beautiful new little art, you know.
For sure, bro. You said the fighters now too, and you're such an OG in this game, dude, that your 5th fight you beat Drew Dober. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you have literally been fighting the best dudes for a long fucking time, and now you're going into a new sport, a new old sport, as we're talking about. But the dudes that are coming in now, you're seeing a lot of MMA guys that have been doing it for a while that are kind of coming over to bare knuckle now. Do you think that trend's going to continue, or do you think you're going to see guys solely training for bare knuckle?
So I definitely think we're going to see more people train just for bare knuckle, and I do think you're going to start to see more gyms training for it. You know, we're even starting. You know, we have a good little crew, and I have a belief and a feeling, you know, soon we might, you know, have a bare knuckle class, you know, or something, you know, like my coach is learning more bare knuckle techniques. He's learning how to, you know, we hit mitts most of the time bare knuckle, which is a whole new thing to me, but to my coach. You know, he never trained any, but he's probably until, you know, 2 years ago, or my first fight was me and Chris Camozzi, he's never caught a punch bare knuckle ever, because why would you train bare knuckle? You know, nobody ever did that. And now we have. So it's like we're all advancing and learning, and soon I believe there'll be actual bare knuckle, you know, fucking gyms. You know, there should be, and we're even, there's, you know, on the low, like we're kind of starting that now, honestly, and we're starting to get more people at our gym that are bare knuckle and coming to our gym because of me, Camozzi. I mean, we got Todd Duffy now coming to our gym, you know, and then on top of that, you know, I feel like we got some of the best coaches in it with fucking Jake Ramos, and now, you know, I brought my boy Pat Barry into it, which I believe he has a knack for it, and we're gonna see more and more people training for it. Now, to say people are gonna start like an 18-year-old kid, like I'm just gonna do bare knuckle, I think you should get into some of the other striking stuff first, because I do think there's a different damage point, you know, where I wouldn't tell an 18-year-old to like go instantly into this, because you're gonna come out looking like Scarface by the time he's my age now, you know, because there's a little different mentality in that, and the cuts are real, you know, and they happen 10 times easier than having an MMA mitt on and whatnot. But I do believe the sport will grow where people are training specifically for bare knuckle boxing, which is already starting now.
If anybody wants any proof, go watch your first bare knuckle fight, dude. That gash you had in your head, dude, it was insane.
It was, man, but that's still a negative little spot for me, man, because I've had worse, you know. You know, like that cut was insane, and that was from a jab, you know, and that's where you got to learn that this game is different, you know, like I tell you, like, especially with dads, like I used to use the getting jabbed in my forehead as my like range finder. Like I didn't care to get jabbed in the forehead, you know, like that. I'm a shorter fighter, jab me in the forehead, I'm finding my range, you know, so I can come in, you know, and that again was learning the aspects of the different game, you know, like you don't want to take even a jab, you know, because it can end the fight prematurely like that, which I still believe was prematurely ended, given the people I saw that fought. I mean, there was a girl fight on that same card, and this girl was still getting stitched up by the time I came back 4 fights later. You know, I'm like, they let this girl just get her. Someone hated this girl, like let her get cut up. You know, but you know, so that one's still holding me. It's like, dude, that was a cut. I was in one of the most brutal sports. Like, let me fight. You know,
And you were coming on too.
Oh, I was coming forward. I felt it. I've seen it. You know, like when you've been in enough fights, you see when you see their eyes change. And I saw that dude's eyes change. Like, oh fuck, he's a little different than I thought. Like he a little quicker than I thought. You know, and I saw that when I knocked him down once, and when I put him square on his freaking face. You know. But it is what it is. I was pretty upset about that, especially being my first bare knuckle fight. Plus going into it thinking I would never lose in this sport because it's tailor made for me, you know, and then to get to only do 2 rounds. And you're like, that was what, 4 minutes? I was like, bro, I was so upset.
At least you're able to come back with that second one and show out.
You know, I had a lot coming behind it. Obviously, anytime I go out there, I'm going to kill. But that one, I obviously had a little bit more behind me, given that I didn't even get to go. You know, I didn't get stopped. I didn't get ended. You know, I didn't get to end them. You know, so coming in that next one, I just took it all in, honestly. Like, that was one of the most present fights, I feel like, since I fought in Italy that I've ever been, just because of where I know I am in my career, but just knowing what got taken away from me last time. This time I just kind of was as present as possible, you know, and it was amazing. Like you said, coming in there, and I knew I was going to put that guy away instantly.
Yeah, I knew it too. I think I texted you before too. I said something to that effect. So the show's Conspiracy and Chill. So we don't just talk about conspiracies because you're on the show and you're not a conspiracy guy. Not to say that you're not into them, but that's not what you're known for, is what I'm saying, you know.
Yeah.
But if I was gonna ask you, Brandon Girtz, is there something that people might be surprised to find out that you believe? Like, you believe in Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts? Is there something like crazy, or I wouldn't even want to say crazy because some of the things we believe, but is there something like that you believe that people might be surprised to find out?
Well, no one should be surprised about aliens anymore, right? They came out and said they're real, you know, but I believed in that before that. I believe in ghosts. I believe in spirits. I believe in everything. Honestly, I don't consider myself a conspiracy theorist at all. I'm kind of in my own world, but I don't believe everything's just is what we see, you know. And like I just said, I've always believed in aliens. I've always believed in ghosts. I believe in it all. You know, I got a very, very open mind in everything, you know. So, you know, when we talk about, you know, like a conspiracy talks about something, I'll be like, that could be true. You know, like very, very well could be true, you know. So I'm very open-minded on it all, man. I don't get into it too much. You know, I'm not one that watches the news at all. I don't really, I just got told a bunch of new stuff going on in the world because I don't really pay attention to anything. I got too much stuff to let my mind get into it because I believe in everything, you know? So,
That's awesome.
I don't go too deep into it. I definitely wouldn't call myself a conspiracy theorist because, I just can't use my brain energy on it. But I do believe there's truth in a lot of things.
That's
Definitely.
awesome. That's very well put, brother.
I feel like there's a lot of crossover between people who do combat sports and are interested in it or have the mind to go, you know, get into a violent encounter with someone else locked in a cage and, you know, being open-minded towards things or like seeking the truth or not being afraid to have a different or controversial opinion. So you said you're not married to any theory, but do you have any strange stories or unexplainable encounters you've ever had or something like that you'd want to share?
I mean, absolutely. You know, like I've seen some things in the sky that I can't explain, you know, watching something and all of a sudden zapped away, you know, not just a satellite moving, not just a flying star, you know, and I do remember one great story of ghosts back when I was in college wrestling, and freshman year, the school actually during Christmas break, like you can't stay in the dorms, like it closes, but we still got practice. So we have to stay, at a senior's house or someone else's house. And I'm staying down in the basement. It's me and the guy named George Lionel. He was a beast, and he was a beast. And I went somewhere. I don't know where I stayed one night. I went somewhere, and I came back the next day. He's like, dude, it was crazy here, bro. Like, I was hearing stuff. I swear I saw stuff, because I wasn't there, and he's like saying all these weird, I'm getting shivers while I'm talking about it. Damn. and he's like, dude, it was scary, man. And then the next night he goes somewhere, and I'm down there by myself. TV turns on by itself. I look over where he's normally sleeping. I'm not making this up. I see some dude sitting on the couch, not sitting like on the couch, but sitting on like top, like where the headrests are or whatever you want to call it.
Oh,
sitting there. No joke. And I just instantly turned my head back into the couch, just be like, all right, bro, we cool, bro. and I fall back asleep eventually. And dude, it was one of those things where they already talked about, like, the people that lived there, that down in the basement was kind of freak. Like, they've heard things and this and that. I think we were the first ever, everybody, all the bedrooms were upstairs. Like, we were just staying, we were out on the couches. And like I said, night before he saw stuff and heard stuff. And then that night, TV kept coming on just like that, where it's just fuzzy. And then I saw someone sitting on that couch. I was like, all right, yep. These things are real. And I've already believed in that. Like I said, I believe in spirits. I believe in ghosts. I believe, like I already said, I believe in it all, man. I don't know why we would think like none of that's real. To really think we're the only spirits or people or things around here is a little naive, if you ask me.
Definitely.
I just know I'm a good person. I know I've never wronged nobody. And if there's bad spirits, there's good spirits. It's how I always put it. So I ain't worried.
Definitely. And just out of curiosity, where do you fall spiritually, would you say?
Well, spiritually, religiously, you mean?
Religiously, spiritually, yeah, higher power, belief.
Again, like, I'm one that believes in it all. I mean, I believe in God. I believe in the higher powers. I believe in what everybody else, believes in, that there's a higher power, that there's spirits. I believe in the power of the sun. Again, like, if I look at stuff, I'm like, the guy from the Vikings, where he believes in God, but he also believes in the sun gods and that, things like that. Like, I believe, again, like this, I believe in it all, man. I believe in the higher powers, but I do believe in the one true God, and that's my belief. I'm not a pure go to church guy. But I believe in the higher power.
That's very well put, dude. It's funny that you bring up Vikings, because we just had brought that up a few days ago about that show. Great show. Did you watch the show Vikings?
Oh yeah, loved it.
Great fucking show, right?
Oh yeah. And I was sad that Ragnar died, and that's who I'm like comparing. Like, I'm not like of how his beliefs, the believing in the sun gods, believing in stuff, but then came over and then started believing in God too. But he didn't just forsake his sun gods, like, he wasn't like, they're not one, then I'm just a believer in God now. He believed in them both, and that's where I'm at. Like, like I said with the I believe in a lot, bro. I'm pretty open on it all, and that's I'm open to, like you said, like the Vikings, where he has his sun gods and this and that, and then he's believing in the true one God, and yeah, I'd say that's me.
I've definitely dabbled myself. Like, I've kind of reached the same conclusion too, but I got tattoos of fucking Odin on me and Celtic gods, and I've dabbled with it all. And Fun fact for anyone who doesn't know, my last name Higgins actually means Viking in Gaelic. And I thought for a while, like, oh, I must have some Viking ancestry, you know, that's sick. But when I looked into it, and my family, my parents have gotten the DNA test, I have zero actual Viking blood in me, almost all Irish, but I'll take it from the namesake.
Close enough.
The Irish took it on after the Vikings dominated over there.
Exactly, pretty much.
They're like, all right, well, we might as well take a Viking name. And you guys came in here and pillaged us.
Do you have a guilty pleasure TV show?
Guilty pleasure TV.
Like something that, like, if one of your training guys or one of your guys walked in the room and they saw you watching, they'd be like, are you a bitch? Like, are you watching that? Like, for real?
I'm trying to think. I know there's got to be. So I feel like I've watched too much TV recently with having kids, because you can't get out to, you know, like it's like I gotta be here. Like right now, I'm holding one of my sons, you know, talking to you guys because my girl's at the store. We gotta split them up sometimes. So it's like I watch more TV than I ever have, just because I can't, you know, I gotta be here, you know, for most of the time, and you gotta relax. So I try to think of what I know. There's probably something I've watched that I wouldn't want to say I've watched. Definitely, I think I got into the new. It was called like The New Girl, I think, or something for a bit. We watched like one of my girls' shows, and I actually kind of liked it. It was one where you're like, and then you watched it and you're like, hey, you want to watch another one? Like, all right. I think it's called The New Girl or something. And that, it's been a bit since I watched that, whatever it was. But one of those shows, like you said, you wouldn't think I'd be watching.
How were your holidays, man?
They were good, bro. They were good. Real simple. This was honestly the first. So I'm from Minnesota. I live in Colorado now. I've never missed a Christmas with my parents. So this was the first one that we didn't travel back since we have the newborn, and he actually got my new son Vahan got sick the first like 2 weeks or something. So he was on like oxygen for like a week and a half, which was just absolute terribleness to see and deal with. So we decided not to travel, because that's one of those things. I'm about tradition, so I've never, I say all my years on this world, I've never missed a Christmas with my parents. So this was the first one I didn't travel back for. And it was tough, honestly. I mean, even though I'm 38, so it's not like, like missing Christmas with your parents, but that was a big thing to me. So that was tough for me, but I'm out here with my girl's family, and we had a good Christmas. It was just, like I said, when you're used to a certain tradition, it makes it a little different, and whatnot, but it was good. And it's good seeing my eldest is, a little over a year and a half now. So he kind of open present, he ripped them open and could see a toy and be happy about it. So it's just kind of cool to see, to see that now, and just the transition in life and the big changes too, not to say I'm happy that I missed the Christmas, but it's just it's a change in guard a little bit in life, things are changing.
It sounds like you're in a good place with everything. Are you going to make your forever home in Colorado?
That's hard to say. I'm never like to think like that. I don't know. I'm open again to what can change. And I love Colorado. And of course, I've been here a little over 10 years or so. And I don't see myself leaving anytime soon, but I do at some point, because there's a big world out there and I like to see it. I got some land here now, which I've been working on. Up in the mountains a little bit. I got 10 acres out there, which I'm not even sure, what I'm planning with it yet, or if it could be a forever place, but I'm not sure. I don't like to live in that, like, oh, this is where we are forever. Like, right. It's a big world, and I also see myself and my family living in another country at some point, or something different, like that's, I've always kind of seen that, just something different,
What might be your destination of choice? Because as a lifelong martial artist, I'm sure you've gotten to travel to some cool places, and see some different places. And you said another country maybe. So do you have one in mind?
So if I did, and I'm not saying if, you never know, but I've always looked at, I love Mexico. And the thing I always tell people why I also really love it is it's connected to the United States. So I could always fucking drive, swim, fucking run back and get on my side of the world. You know, I'm an American, you know, like no put down of anywhere else, but you know, I'm a proud American. So I've always said Mexico, and I just, because for one, it's connected to us, and two, it's like it's Mexico is, not saying it isn't everywhere else, and I've been to a decent amount of places, but I haven't been obviously everywhere, but Mexico is so family oriented, dude, and I love, like I said, I'm a big family guy, and I just love how family oriented they are out there. And you see it by their compounds, and most of the time family just lives together forever, and like you feel it out there, and I'm big on that.
Is there a certain place in Mexico you're thinking?
No. I've seen a few, and I could say, you know, I was out in oh man, I can't believe I just mind space somewhere. I just stayed out there for 4 months a couple years ago, and I would say that area, but then I know it's such a big, vast, you know, gosh, I can't believe I'm mind blanking right now on that, but there's a lot of spots I still want to see before I make that decision where it could be, you know, because it's again, there's a lot of beauty in Mexico, and yeah, I can't exactly nail down where yet.
Yeah, Mexico gets a bad rap, but it's a big country, and it's from what I've only seen a small part of it, but yeah, it's beautiful. Well, man, I feel like I feel like I've taken up too much of your time already. You know, I feel bad because I know that you got your hands full with the new one. So
Oh,
thanks,
no
brother.
worries, man. No worries. It's been a pleasure, man. My boy's actually sleeping right now, so I got him laying next to me, and I got Beachy laying right here, so it's all good.
Anybody who's listening that wants to find out more about Brandon Girtz, what's the best way? X or Instagram?
Yeah, just the Instagram. I don't really do anything on. I haven't, since I got my new phone. I didn't even log into X. You know, I'm not a big social media. You know, you know, it's in the world. You got to use it a little bit. So I try to, at least, you know, but more, you know, I'm more, I'm less of a technology person than most.
I'm with you.
But Instagram, you know, like I said, we all kind of gotta have something these days, especially being an athlete. It's like my Instagram, Bellator made me make it, you know, when I was with them, and so I got that, and you gotta kind of gotta use those tools these days.
Yeah, I guess before I let you go, since we mentioned him a few times, what do you think of the merger, the Bellator PFL merger?
You know, I think it's still out. Like, I don't know what to think on it yet, and I don't think too many people do know. All the information I've got on it is a little different. You know, everybody else has got a little different to say, so it's tough. It's even when it was happening with the, you know, long time. You know, I was in Bellator 10 years. You know, so some of the people that I knew that were straight up in it didn't even know what was happening, you know. So I think it could be big, you know, but then, you know, sometimes I hear that they're just going to shut down the Bellator. They're going to do Bellator versus PFL champs and then shut down the Bellator half, and then I'm not sure, you know, what it looks like. I hope they don't do that, and I hope, you know, it's on the other side where they keep that part going and do Bellator maybe as, you know, like they've said, is Bellator International, and have that sector, and then have the PFL and kind of merge them and make a super house there, you know, because I think that would be much more beneficial. You know, I'm on the fighter side, you know, so I think that would be much more beneficial keep Bellator in some sort of manner and kind of work them both cohesive together, and build stuff, and then do champion versus champion, once in a while. And I think very beneficial. But if they close it down, especially instantaneously, like some people have said is what's going to happen after they do champion versus champion, I don't know if that benefits the fighters. There's only so many roster spots that they can do, and there's only so many shows that PFL can have. And I also know there's not, and I know they're changing some of their stuff for PFL, but I know there's only so many people that can go through a tournament format like that. Not everybody's geared to do that, and I'm curious to see what happens. Like I said, a lot of the people I know are too, and people in it don't know yet what's happening.
Right. Well, what do they do though if all the Bellator champions beat the brakes off of all the PFL champions? Like, you can't just go and shut Bellator down, right? I mean, what do you do at that point, right?
That's
crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy to think, and that's why I think a lot still to be figured out in that. And I don't believe there's many PFL champions currently that would beat the Bellator champions. It's been a longer standing organization, and like I said, a lot of the PFL champions are some younger guns and people like that, but those are the type that get through tournaments. Tournaments are a grueling thing. But I don't think on a most night basis those guys beat the Bellator guys, and there's some pretty good champions in Bellator that would go into the UFC, just like we've seen Chandler go up the ranks, or others, that would. I'm excited to see even what MVP does while he's in the UFC now. So I don't think they could just do that once and then shut it down, but then again, the sport's crazy and you never know what they're going to do.
It's whatever you think they're going to do, they sometimes do, or oftentimes do the exact opposite. Michael Chandler, I know you fought him. I think that's the first time I covered you as a professional, maybe. I don't remember. But it was in Missouri, I remember. And and I think you blew out your shoulder or something, right? And you were looking really good before that fight, too. I was like, God damn, dude, if he didn't get hurt. Was your relationship with Michael Chandler, like, were you guys cool, cordial, or like, how did you get along with him?
We were cordial, but that was, since the day I signed, and like when you signed with Bellator back in the day, I was there a long time. They flew me to Hollywood to do a photo shoot and all that, and he was there, and he already had that, I think, Alvarez fight, and I was looking at him like, that's who I want to fight. So ever since I joined, that's who I wanted to fight, and that fight was so big for me because of that, and blowing out and everything was such a kick in the ass, it hurt, like I said, I was feeling great out there, he didn't want to strike with me, and it felt good, and it is what it is, but as cordial, yeah, dude, we were always cool. We fought on some cards, and he was always, we were always cool with each other. Not saying we're boys by any means or anything, but we were definitely cordial, and every time we see each other, it'd be, how's it going,
Mm-hmm. His hands have gotten a lot better now, but back then, you were right, dude. He tasted it once, and then he went right for the takedown. He didn't want no part of on the feet with you.
Exactly. And he has gotten better on his hands, and that's been a big focus of his. And he, he's got power in him too, and we've seen it. So nothing to take from him. But yeah, that's one of my top. Like, I got a couple, but that's one where I was like, Body, why'd you do that to me? Mm-hmm. A move I've done and posted on multiple times in my life for my shoulder just to completely give out. It was like, damn, but it's, life goes,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those things that you don't get at the time while you're doing this, but it always works out for the better somehow in the end. It always does, right?
Mm-hmm. You just gotta take the bad with the good, you know, and you learn.
I can hear it as a competitor myself in your voice, just thinking back and reliving those moments. Just like, fuck, I wish I could get that one back or have it go a little different. I got plenty of those moments too.
No, that was a big one. Like I said, he was the one I wanted to fight right when I joined. So I always had my eyes on him, and getting the chance and then getting it taken from you in that manner, not just getting beat, but your arm completely getting taken out, was like, damn, like, can't I just lose? You know, like I would have rather gone through a battle with him and had it happen, because that's just like, I'm a fighter, and I want to go out, and fight, and not my body give out in that type of manner.
Definitely.
But
true warrior spirit.
And that I remember that fight pretty freaking as much until I was sleeping, and it was one of those things when I felt my arm give out, and then he gets on and he's starting to put a chokehold. I'm like, I'm going to sleep. I'm like, fuck this. I'm not tapping.
Well,
I'm fucking.
with that being said, maybe that chapter's not closed. We know Chandler's been holding out on a fight he's probably not going to get. Maybe he makes his way into bare knuckle and we get that super fight rematch.
Geez, the world is crazy, right? The world is crazy, and you never know what comes around, and that would be something, like I said, since I got into the big leagues, that's who I looked at, I'm not saying looked up to, but he was the man, he's a competitor, and was always who I wanted to test my skills against.
He's good, but I think one of your boys is better. If you catch my drift.
Yeah, we proved that. So that was one to be at and see, and I knew it was gonna be good for him. I just just given all the rounds I've had with him, and knowing, and like I said, I watched Chandler for those whole times, and like, if he can't just take you down, somebody that's tough, gives it to him, and that's what we saw with my boy.
So when you find like a band and it's like an obscure band and no one really knows who they are, and you kind of like feel like it's your band, you know what I'm saying? And then they get popular, and then everybody likes them, and you kind of feel like, fuck, that was my band, like that's how I felt about Gaethje when he went to the UFC, because I've been watching him in the World Series of Fighting, and now all of a sudden he comes to the UFC and you got all these people on his jock, and it's like, the dude's been good for a decade, dude. Where have you been?
Oh yeah. That he's a monster, dude. And the thing is, it's his heart, and it's just a showcase throughout the years and seeing. And like you said, he was always good, because the dude gives 1,000% in it all. So there ain't no quitting that guy, and there ain't no giving anything but every ounce of fucking effort he has.
You're only as good as your training partners, and steel sharpens steel, right?
Fuck, there was times it was just me and him beating the shit out of each other, and we'd be like, bro, where's everybody else? And he'd be like, well, you fucking hooked him to the head too many times. I'll be like, well, you kicked him too many times. So then it's just me and you. So yeah, it was. We had some hard ground out years, man. It was good. It was good.
Well, shit, man. Thank you so much for doing this. I know you're super busy, with the holidays just passing, being a new father again. So thanks, dude. I appreciate it tremendously, dude.
You know what,
great
brother?
talking.
Anytime, guys.
From all the people that I used to talk to back in the day when I was doing the MMA journalist thing full time, you're one of like only 2, maybe 3 guys that like I considered like friends, like good dudes, man. So I really do appreciate it, brother.
Absolutely, bro. Of course, man. I appreciate it. You've been great throughout the years, so that's how it works.
So that was our first conversation with an MMA fighter, current bare knuckle fighter Brandon Girtz. I know you had a good time talking to Brandon Girtz. You guys share a lot of things in common. Wrestling is included.
Definitely. Most of what he said, I agree with, on point. Definitely a guy I would get along with, a guy I'd love to train with. The mentality of fighters is definitely a unique one, like I said to him, and that perspective usually lends itself well to open-minded conversations. Great first guest to have as a fighter.
He seems super open-minded, right? Like he doesn't. I like how he doesn't have his mindset, much like you and I. We don't have our mind kind of married to any one idea. He seems open to, information. Like you might believe something today, but maybe in a week from now, new information presents itself, and it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna modify my belief. He's very open to a lot of different things, which is really cool about him.
For sure, and like continually evolving as a martial artist and transitioning between disciplines and stuff is him. That he's been doing is, it lends itself well to being open in other areas and always learning and evolving.
During the conversation, you brought up a potential like crazy coming back 360 kind of rematch with Michael Chandler, perhaps in the bare knuckle arena this time around, and it got me thinking it'd be crazy like Mike Perry and him might be like a real possibility too, somewhere down the line, but. Perry's probably a little bit bigger. Perry's taller. I don't think Brandon Girtz isn't too tall for a welterweight, but he definitely packs a punch.
It seems like the weight classes have been a lot more combined in the bare knuckle too, and it doesn't matter as much when there's not a whole lot of grappling going on, even though there's clinching and striking will still matter. But it's pretty exciting. I'm also playing a little matchmaker now with Wrestling Wars and being the Vince McMahon of that. So maybe I just pitched a super fight, and if we see it happen, just know I was calling for that fight.
How is the matchmaking? Dude. I know it's super stressful because you wear like 1,000 hats, and it's so new, and you only have a limited amount of people that are willing. Or I shouldn't say willing, but you only have a handful of people that are helping you currently. So you're wearing a lot of hats that hopefully you won't be wearing each presentation. Hopefully it'll be a little less for you each time. But just talk to just the matchmaking a little bit and how difficult that is, and your new respect that you might have for it.
Dude, like I keep laughing and saying, I understand why Dana White is a red face fucking spaz for trying to put matchups together. And yeah, like for Wrestling Wars, for the most part, I've done a lot of it. Yeah, I have you and my close friends and stuff and training partners helping out with it. Definitely my friend Mitch has helped a lot with the matchmaking and running it out of his gym. The putting the matches together is fucking fun. That's like the exciting part, like trying to get these guys well matched, make sure there's no mismatches, but trying to like confirm someone to do it, especially for these different styles of grappling that people aren't familiar with, like trying to get people to commit and not back out at the last minute. Send me these pictures. All right, is this guy going to show up? All right, oh, fuck, this guy. All right. And everyone, calling my name, trying to set it up. Man, it is a lot, but it's fun. It's something I think is going to blow up. And, like I said, it's fun. I'm a fucking grappling nerd. I'm a martial arts nerd. So putting these matchups together and trying to make it funny and entertaining with a group of people who I know are funny and entertaining, those close to me and my training partners that work hard, my students. I've featured a lot of matches with my students, some of whom I've trained a lot, some of whom I have only trained a little bit. Some random people are in Wrestling Wars that, outsiders that are looking to get a part of it, and that's going to be more and more of a thing.
We had a little explosive kind of ending. I know that I saw on Instagram, there's a little clip of it too. It's done pretty well. I think it had like 10,000 views, dude.
Yeah, that's, we're trying to keep it exciting.
That's big for us small-time bird players.
Definitely. And as a, fan of martial arts and fan of WWE as a kid and the entertainment value, I always hate when the UFC goes on the McGregor route, if you will. Just take whatever's the most loudest, most fucking, what's going to get the views, what's going to get excitement, whatever, and put that on blast. But I did say from
they call
Wrestling
that cheap
Wars,
heat in wrestling.
Exactly. From Wrestling Wars inception, I wanted it to be goofy and different and have like corny, stupid, funny, entertaining scripts and skits, and that's what we're gonna do. And I don't know. I'm not sure if it was all character in the moment and a heel, and then that worked, or if it was a little bit of just savagery in the moment where it's hard to fucking shut it off when you're just going for the kill. Catch wrestling is brutal. It's literally more like a fight. Yeah, I think we just got a little bit of crossover from not being able to turn off that intensity as soon as the match ended. It's hard for some people.
Definitely. I'm the furthest thing from an expert when it comes to any kind of, wrestling. Obviously, huge fan, covered the sport in a way, MMA. Huge fan of pro wrestling since I was a kid. That being said, I think that was just raw emotion at the end, because it was a tough battle, dude. It was a tough battle, and I think it was raw emotion because, let me tell you, if that was him being a heel, then the motherfucker is the best. Sign him. He's the best heel you got. He got, hook, line, and sinker. I was in. But I instantly want to see him again. That's the thing. I instantly want to see that guy again. So, yeah, good shit, dude. This was a good one.
Fuck yeah.
Anything else? Oh, all of our social
Subscribe,
medias.
like, share, download.
Two Truth Seekers.
Boom.
The greatest prison that people live in is the fear of what other people think. What happened to me as a result of all the ridicule I went through is that I stepped out of the fear of what other people thought.